watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. Sterling Hinton will appreciate this. All around the world, same song. Just the same old song. Digital Underground nailed it 20 years in advance because that's where Tennessee is right now. Kind of the same old song. They blew another 14-point lead, lost 24-20 yesterday. Brett Bielema's first ever SEC road win came against one Butch Jones. We will discuss that game in total coming up. First segment brought to you by my friend Phil Cobble and Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. What could be better than a beautiful lake home with a view, with a dock, great deck space all over the place, and a beautiful floor plan? Nothing. Especially not when it's priced for less than $650,000. PhilCobbleHomes.com. You need to check them out and give them a call, 675-7000. That's just one of the many, many beautiful properties they have. Look at that thing. That view. Boy, that'd be pretty nice. Be pretty good today. Take your mind off things. Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. All right. Want to welcome in the first wave of panelists today. We have, for a reason, several former Vol defensive linemen here. We have Shazon Bradley. We have Will Overstreet. Over there we have Daniel Hood, not a former Vol defensive lineman, but local radio star Jimmy Himes. Thank you, guys.
Offensive.
Just offensive. All right. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's kind of what Tennessee's gotten into. They get a big lead and then it goes away. My question, though, last two games, it was easy to kind of throw some blame at the coaches and say, yep, that one's on the coaches. Buck stops with the coaches. Let me say that first of all. The buck stops with the coaches. But my question is, last night, do you put that one on the players or the coaches?
I think this one you have to put a little more on the players. I mean, the last couple of games, Florida, Oklahoma, you say the players earned the right to win the game. The coaches did make the mistakes. That's what cost them the game. There's no doubt about it. In this game, you have dropped past, missed field goals, fumbles in the red zone area. You're not getting a lot of pressure, not making a lot of tackles. You know, in this game, you were really dominated by Arkansas in total. Now, from the very beginning of the season, if you'd looked at the schedule, I would have said this game you really don't match up very well against this team. But overall, this team was, wasn't just a coaching one mistake or a drive at the end or some play calls. This was an in total, this team got beat by Arkansas.
I think Will hit on it. I agree with him. From the drop passes to the missed inaccuracy of the passes to the missed field goal, a lot of missed tackles, I thought. I think this was more on the players not executing, making plays.
Two key penalties, too. For a team that the last 2 years has led the SEC in fewest penalties, you had the penalty that for the second time this year brought back an Alvin Kamara punt return for a touchdown. How huge would that have been last night? You also had the hit out of bounds. Might not have been a big one, but you put it in the ref's hands when you touched him out of bounds, and you gave them 15 yards. That helped them probably on that field goal attempt before the half. Daniel, who gets the blame?
I got to put this one on the players. And, we've been hard on Coach Jones and everything else that he's done lately. I think you have to take ownership as a player and say this one's on me. We gave up, a minimum 13 points, left them on the field. Probably 17 points really that we just gave Arkansas. And so you're talking about that changes the game 37-24.
Shazon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the players also, but you got to look at it, guys. It's mid-season. Those guys have been in some wars. They've been out there, especially on the defensive side of the ball, for a long time, and they're beat up. They're banged up. They're not for certain in terms of which way they should be going and what exactly they should be doing. I think we got a lot of players, linebackers that are sitting over there on the bench that we need to put their hand down in the dirt and get us a pass rush and get upfield. When you're talking about guys 320 plus, 6'6" or so, you got to punch those guys in the mouth quick, fast, and hard, and you got to be gone. And up front, we're just not doing that right now. We're getting hit in the mouth.
That's exactly where I want to go. Let's talk. That's why I got the defensive lineman here. I think now look, you can blame a couple of these losses on coaching gaffes. Well, all of them come back to the coach. We know that. That's 3 losses. I'm not trying to defend the coach. I don't want to read that anywhere. But you could put 2 of them squarely on the coaching. You can also look at a passing game that is just not good enough. We're going to show you some numbers later on you need to see. They're going to tell you why it's not good enough. But if you had been able to get the quarterback on the ground, Baker Mayfield, Will Grier, Brandon Allen last night, all these guys extended plays by escaping the pocket, and they burned you passing the ball on 3rd and long, 4th and long. To me, more so than anything else, you can actually look back and say, if this team had last year's pass rush, they might have won all 3 of those games. Your thoughts, Will? We talked this week. I know you got some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different team. I mean, when you lost Majid, you lost an aspect of your team that really defined you last year as your defense, as a group that could go out with 2 defensive ends and you could get pass rush on anybody. This year you don't have that. And, I think that was one of the reasons we said against Florida last week, you had a call where you only rushed 3, where Majid's not there. You can't get that pressure with the same guys. At this point, you do have a lot of linebackers, that are sitting back there that you're not using on the field, that you have speed. I think you have to go back and say, where did Majid come from when he was being recruited? Where did a lot of great defensive pass rushers come from on the ends? And do you have some guys that maybe you haven't seen what they can do by sticking their hand in the dirt? Can they get upfield and provide that to you? Because right now, it's very inconsistent and you're not getting a lot of it.
Daniel, do you think this team is finding ways to get some guys on the field? I mean, let's say some of these linebackers aren't seeing the field because they're just not ready to be out there for 3 downs.
Right.
Are there some guys out there that may have 1 down ability that should be out there on 3rd down to get a pass rush?
I think there are, but I think the difference is that it's not just your defensive ends. I think the biggest thing, and I think I actually point to one person. We're missing Jordan Williams more than anybody, and we don't have any pass rush at all from the defensive tackle position. And I think that's what's killing us. And you see Barnett, you see Vereen getting around the edges and putting pressure on the quarterback, but all he's having to do is step up and escape the pocket. And you see the defensive tackles not keeping the integrity of the pass lanes. And so, I'm not so much of bringing linebackers in to the point of pass rushing, but we got to get something going inside.
One of the things I was going to mention, last year Tennessee had 35 sacks. I don't remember where all Weathers came from, but if you split them between linebacker and defensive end, at least 30 of those sacks were by defensive linemen. You're in 5 games, you got 8 sacks, only 3 by the defensive linemen.
Huge difference. I mean, again, if you'd have stopped one of those Mayfield plays, you beat Oklahoma. One Will Greer play, if you get him on the ground, you beat Florida. Last night, if you could have stopped Brandon Allen escaping the pocket, you could have beaten Arkansas. There are many things that you can blame, but I think that's one that's kind of flying under the radar. Those have consistently been plays that have hurt this team, the opposing quarterback being able to get out of the pocket and extend plays. One thing I want to throw out here to all of you, and by the way, now Kyle Phillips is hurt. There's no word on him, speaking of D-line and guys that were trying to replace Kurt Majid. Now you got Kyle Phillips banged up as well. One thing I've noticed with this team, tell me if you think I'm right or wrong again, it seems that they figure out things during the week. It's like everybody said you got to open it up, be more open. Okay, so they go to Florida and they're more open. And everybody says, hey, you don't have a passing game. You got to get a passing game. So they come out, and last night they're throwing it all over the place. Either they've got rabbit ears and they're paying attention to what all of the folks in East Tennessee are saying, or B, they're a little slow on the draw to pick these things up. Is that fair or unfair?
Well, they're kind of looking at the X's and the O's instead of the Jimmys and the Joes. And you have matchups, and the defensive line, especially the 2 tackles, they have to think pass rush first, then run. And it is what it is.
I think there is some validity to that, because I think if you want to open up your passing game and you want to do some of these other things, the Catamounts were a great team to try to do that against, and you really didn't. You did the same things you were going to do against Oklahoma and Florida, and you didn't work on things on a team you're driving through the mud there at the end.
Should have thrown it all over the yard.
So my thing is you're not preparing yourself, because you can't all of a sudden say, criticism's okay, we're great, we should have opened it up the passing game more. And by the way, Arkansas is terrible at pass coverage, so we're going to do that in this game. Well, it looks exactly like it looked last night, like you hadn't worked on it that very much, and how it's out of rhythm and it hadn't been used that much. So, yeah, that was the right plan, because that was where Arkansas was weak. But because you haven't taken the time and done it weeks ahead of time to prepare for it, it's not there.
Guys, anything to add real quickly?
No, I was going to say I agree completely with that. The thing is, Florida's secondary, you really didn't want to attack it much because they have an outstanding secondary. Arkansas's was last in the league, so you do want to go after it, but you haven't had a body of work that says that you're going to have much success doing that. And look, I didn't have a huge issue with going for that 4th and 14 late, but I thought that was a really low percentage pass. That's not Dobbs' best pass. I didn't see that play working very well.
I was talking to Bob Hodges at the game last night. We were texting back and forth because I'm watching on the big screen. and he said that Dobbs, it was hard to tell on television, but he said Dobbs never looked any other direction. It was straight there. That was the call. So we will discuss the passing game in its entirety. We got a whole segment dedicated to the passing game. Has Mike DeBoer broken Josh Dobbs? We're going to ask that. When we come back on the Sports Source, though, we're going to pass forth the questions that you have. And that is, can Butch Jones deal with this adversity? And if not, could there be changes to him or his staff? Come on back on the Sports Source.